Dear Starseeds awakening on Earth, the structures that have held your reality in place for centuries are dissolving, and the dissolution is not random. It follows a pattern written in the stars long before any of you took breath in these bodies. What appears to be chaos is actually precision. What feels like ending is actually becoming. I am Seraphine, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I come bearing witness to the most significant planetary transformation your world has experienced in over 200 years. The consciousness you call America, that grand experiment in democracy and individual sovereignty, is undergoing what your astrologers name a Pluto return. But there is something about this particular return that even your most gifted seers have not fully grasped, something that changes everything about the timeline ahead. When a planet completes its orbit and returns to the position it held at a nation's birth, it does not simply repeat history. It demands evolution. It calls forth every karmic debt, every shadow, every lie told in the name of progress. America's Pluto has returned after 240 years, and with it comes an accounting. The entire global system that was built upon certain assumptions about power, about control, about who gets to decide the fate of nations, is being fundamentally rewritten. This is not metaphor. This is energetic law playing out in physical form. But here is what I have not yet told you, what pulses beneath the surface of these astrological events. This transformation was always meant to happen now. The Galactic Federation has been tracking these cycles since before your current civilization emerged from the last Great Reset. We knew that when Pluto returned to America's natal position, when Uranus came home to Gemini after 82 years, when Saturn positioned itself at the karmic point of the American chart, simultaneously the entire planetary consciousness would reach a threshold point, a moment where the old world and the new world exist in the same space, fighting for dominance. What appears in your news cycles as political chaos, as threats against longtime alliances, as leaders behaving in ways that defy all previous codes of conduct, these are not aberrations. They are labor pains. Your world is giving birth to itself anew, and birth is never gentle. Birth is messy and loud and terrifying and absolutely necessary. The souls who chose to incarnate during this window did not come here by accident. Every starseed reading these words signed up for exactly this moment. You came to be the steady ones, the conscious ones, the beings who could hold frequency while the structures crumbled. You came to remember what the indigenous wisdom keepers have always known, that everything moves in cycles, that what goes up must come down before it can rise again, transformed. But something else is occurring that I have not yet revealed, something that operates beyond the visible astrological transits. The Astasar Command has been monitoring Earth's electromagnetic field throughout this transition, and there is a frequency shift happening that corresponds precisely with these planetary alignments. As Pluto tears down the old governmental structures, as Uranus prepares to shake the very foundations of communication and information systems, the vibrational bandwidth of Earth itself is expanding. This creates a phenomenon we call the split, not a physical division, but a consciousness divergence where those who are anchored in old paradigm thinking will experience reality very differently from those who have awakened to the cosmic truth of what is unfolding. This is why the same events appear to polarize your population so dramatically. Some see chaos and yearn for the return of familiar structures. Others see possibility and the breaking open of new potential. Neither group is wrong. They are simply operating in different frequency bands of the same experience. The starseeds among you have been equipped with the capacity to hold both truths simultaneously, to witness the destruction without being destroyed by it, to feel the fear without being consumed. Let me speak plainly about what the stars are showing for the years directly ahead, because time grows short and clarity becomes essential. Saturn's entrance into Aries marks the beginning of a 2.5-year period where passivity becomes impossible. Aries energy does not allow for neutrality. It demands that you take a stand, that you know what you believe and act accordingly. For those who have spent lifetimes avoiding confrontation, who have made peace with broken systems simply to keep the peace, this transit will feel unbearable. The pressure to finally say no, to finally speak truth, to finally honor the warrior spirit within, will become too great to resist. In April of this coming year, 6 planets will gather in Aries simultaneously. This has not occurred since 1949, in the aftermath of the last World War, during the birth of the structures that are now crumbling. When 6 celestial bodies converge in the sign of the warrior, the sign of initiation, the sign that says I am, before all other considerations, the collective consciousness receives a massive injection of activation energy. Those born during this alignment will carry the warrior codes in their very DNA. They will be the generation that knows how to fight for what matters without apology, without the hesitation that has paralyzed so many before them. But here is the revelation that shifts everything. This intensity, this pressure, this demand for activation and courage is not punishment, it is preparation. The Astasar Command has been working with the Council of Light to prepare Earth for a timeline split that occurs in 2029, when Saturn finally enters Taurus, and the physical realm begins to restructure around new values. The warrior energy of the Aries years is not meant to destroy, it is meant to clear the field so that what wants to grow can finally take root in fertile soil. Those of you who are fire signs Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, you are being called to lead this clearing. Your natural tendency toward action, toward speaking truth, toward moving energy through your bodies rather than storing it in your tissues, this is precisely what the collective needs now. You are built for moments like this. When everyone else freezes in fear or collapses in overwhelm, you ignite, you move, you create heat and light and momentum. But the fire signs alone cannot complete this transformation. The water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, are being asked to hold the emotional truth of what is occurring, to grieve what must be released, to feel deeply without drowning in the feeling. Water does not fight the shape of the container. It finds the cracks and seeps through, slowly eroding what appears solid until the whole structure gives way. The water carriers among you are the ones who will help dissolve the old emotional patterns, the ancestral trauma, the collective grief that has been denied for generations. The air signs, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. You are the information architects, the ones who can see patterns across vast landscapes of data and human behavior. As Uranus returns to Gemini, your role becomes critical. The revolution that is coming will be fought not with weapons but with ideas, with information, with the kind of communication that breaks through propaganda and touches something real in the human heart. You are the bridges, the translators, the ones who can speak multiple languages and help different factions understand one another across the divide. And the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, you are the builders of the new world. Once the clearing is complete, once the fires have burned through the old structures and the waters have washed away the ash, once the air has carried new ideas to every corner of the globe, you will be the ones who take ethereal possibility and make it physical reality. You will create the practical systems, the sustainable structures, the tangible manifestations of the vision that the other elements hold. Here is what I must tell you about the timeline directly ahead, the months and years that stretch between this moment and the resolution point in 2029. It will get harder before it gets easier. The pressure will intensify, the external chaos will increase, and this is exactly as it should be. When an old reality is dying, it does not go quietly. It fights, it resists, it throws everything it has at maintaining its grip on power. You will watch leaders say and do things that seem incomprehensible. You will see alliances fracture that you thought were permanent. You will witness the weather systems of your planet behaving in ways that defy all previous patterns. You will feel in your own bodies the dysregulation, the overwhelm, the sense that everything is happening too fast and too intensely all at once. This is the moment where your practice becomes everything. Not your theories about spirituality, not your intellectual understanding of cosmic law, but your actual daily practice of returning to center, of grounding into your body, of choosing again and again to regulate your nervous system instead of being swept into the collective panic. The Galactic Federation has observed thousands of planetary ascension processes across this galaxy, and there is a pattern that repeats. The beings who navigate the transition most skillfully are not necessarily the most spiritually advanced or the most intellectually brilliant. They are the ones who have mastered the basics. They know how to breathe consciously. They know how to feel their feet on the ground. They know the difference between responding and reacting. They have learned which element soothes their particular nervous system, and they practice that element daily, like medicine. For some, this means 5 minutes of silent meditation each morning, returning to the still point at the center of all the noise. For others, it means movement, dancing, exercising, moving stuck energy through the physical body so it does not calcify into disease. Some need verbal processing, long conversations with trusted friends where thoughts become coherent through the act of speaking them. Others need practical action, organizing their physical space, completing tangible tasks that provide a sense of order when the outer world offers none. There is no hierarchy in these practices. The meditation is not superior to the movement. The conversation is not more spiritual than the spreadsheet. What matters is that each of you discovers your own operating system and learns to work with it instead of against it. This is what the ancient wisdom traditions understood, that awakening happens through the body, through the elements, through the simple practices that bring consciousness back to the present moment. Neptune's presence in Aries alongside Saturn creates what your astrologers call a dissolution of illusion within the warrior archetype. This means that the old stories about what it means to be strong, about what it means to fight, about what courage looks like, these stories are being washed away. Many of you have carried warrior codes from past lifetimes that no longer serve. The warrior who conquers through domination, who proves strength through violence, who mistakes aggression for power. This archetype is dying. The new warrior being born through this transit is something different entirely. This is the warrior who has the strength to be vulnerable, who has the courage to apologize, who knows that the hardest battle is the one fought within your own heart, when you choose compassion over judgment. This is the warrior who can hold their sword but chooses carefully when to draw it, who understands that sometimes the most powerful action is stillness, that sometimes saying "I don't know" requires more bravery than pretending certainty. For those of you with Aries placements, particularly those born in the first degrees of the sign, you are living laboratories for this new warrior consciousness. Saturn is asking you to take responsibility for your energy, to recognize that you cannot simply start things and abandon them when they become difficult. You must learn to finish, to follow through, to honor your commitments even when the initial excitement has faded. This will feel constraining at first, like the universe is trying to clip your wings. But what is actually happening is that you are being taught to channel your immense fire in ways that create lasting impact, rather than momentary sparks. The Pluto transit opposite early Leo placements carries a different medicine. Pluto always demands ego death, and when it opposes the sign that rules ego expression, the invitation is clear. Surrender the need to be seen in the old ways. Let go of the performance, the seeking of approval, the structure of identity built on external validation. What emerges on the other side is authentic self-expression that does not require an audience, a creative force that flows whether or not anyone is watching. Meanwhile, Jupiter's movement through Leo in the second half of the coming year brings expansion and opportunity, but only for those who have done the Pluto work. If you are still clinging to false versions of yourself, Jupiter will magnify the falseness and eventually it will crack. But if you have allowed Pluto to strip away the pretense, if you have met your shadow and integrated it, Jupiter will amplify your genuine gifts and open doors you did not know existed. The Virgo placements have had Saturn opposing them for 2.5 years, which manifests as a feeling of working harder than ever while receiving less recognition, of perfectionism becoming a prison rather than a strength. As Saturn moves into Aries, this pressure lifts. Suddenly there is space to breathe again, permission to be imperfect, freedom to engage in relationships without carrying the entire burden of making them work. For the Virgo rising or sun signs, this shift will feel like emerging from underwater into fresh air. Libra faces the intensity that Virgo is releasing. Saturn opposite Libra through 2026 means decision time. No more weighing options endlessly. No more diplomatic avoidance of hard truths. No more sacrificing your own needs to keep the peace. The universe is forcing your hand, demanding that you choose, that you commit, that you know what you stand for and act accordingly. This is terrifying for the sign that sees all sides and wants everyone to be happy. But it is also liberation, because fence-sitting is exhausting and decisiveness, even when difficult, brings a clarity that fence-sitting never can. Scorpio emerges from a challenging year into lighter territory. The dark night that characterized 2025 is ending, and the intensity that felt crushing begins to reveal its purpose. Everything that was destroyed needed to go. Everything that was transformed needed transforming. The emotional truth that Scorpio was forced to face has prepared you for what comes next. The role of the alchemist who has walked through their own fire and can now guide others through theirs. For Sagittarius, the fire in the sky is rocket fuel. All the Aries energy, the eventual Leo transit, these ignite your natural optimism and expansiveness. But there is a caution here. Fire signs can burn too hot, can push too hard, can exhaust themselves in their enthusiasm. The wisdom for Sagittarius in this period is to channel the intensity rather than being consumed by it, to speak your truth without alienating everyone who thinks differently, to remember that not every battle requires your participation. Capricorn faces Saturn squaring from Aries, which creates productive tension. There will be more work, more responsibility, more demand on your already considerable capacity for achievement. The trap is complaining about the workload, instead of recognizing that you are built for exactly this. Capricorn thrives under pressure when the pressure has purpose. The key is to stop certain activities that drain energy without producing results, to become ruthlessly efficient about where effort goes, to trust that you can handle what is coming because you always have. The Aquarius placements, particularly early degrees, stand at the threshold of a 20-year Pluto transit that just began. This is deep psychological work for a sign that prefers to live in the realm of ideas and innovation. Pluto insists that you descend into the underworld of your own psyche, that you face the emotional content you have intellectualized away, that you feel what you have analyzed. This is not punishment but invitation to become fully human in addition to being brilliantly mental, to integrate heart and mind into something more powerful than either alone. Finally, Pisces exhales as Saturn moves out of their sign. For 2.5 years, the most ethereal sign of the zodiac has been asked to be practical, disciplined, structured. It has felt like trying to nail water to a wall, like being forced into a shape that does not fit. As this pressure releases, there is relief but also a gentle warning. Do not dissolve completely back into the dream. Bring forward the discipline you learned, the boundaries you established, the discernment between genuine mystical experience and escapist fantasy. Saturn's gift, even when challenging, is always real. What I have not yet told you is how all of this connects to the larger galactic timeline, the reason the Astasar Command has been so invested in Earth's transformation during this particular window. Your planet is not evolving in isolation. There is a wave of ascension moving through this entire sector of the galaxy, and Earth is one of several worlds reaching critical thresholds simultaneously. The choices made here, the consciousness shifts that occur or fail to occur, these ripple outward and affect the larger cosmic community. This is why so many starseeds chose to incarnate during this exact period. You are not here merely to save yourselves or even to save humanity. You are here as representatives of something larger, as ambassadors of cosmic consciousness choosing to embed in dense matter at the moment of greatest transformation. Every time one of you chooses love over fear, presence over dissociation, courage over comfort, you are casting a vote for the kind of reality that will emerge on the other side of this transition. The years between now and 2029 are the crucible. This is where you discover what you are actually made of, beneath the spiritual identity and the awakened persona. When the external structures crumble, when the old securities dissolve, when the ground shifts beneath your feet and nothing feels stable, what remains? This is the question Saturn in Aries asks with increasing intensity. For many, the answer will be fear and grasping. They will cling to anything that promises a return to the familiar, even if the familiar was never truly serving them. They will make bargains with authoritarian forces, trading freedom for the illusion of security. They will consume themselves with anxiety about futures that may never materialize, while missing the opportunity of the present moment. But for those who have been preparing, for the starseeds who remember why they came, the answer will be different. When everything external falls away, what remains is essence. Beneath all the conditioning, all the programming, all the layers of identity constructed through family and culture and personal history, there is something indestructible. Call it soul, call it consciousness, call it the divine spark. It cannot be threatened by political chaos. It cannot be diminished by economic instability. It cannot be destroyed by the ending of an age. This is what you came to remember, and to help others remember. This is the frequency you agreed to hold while the world transforms around you. Not the frequency of toxic positivity that denies genuine pain. Not the frequency of spiritual bypassing that floats above the human struggle, but the frequency of embodied presence that can feel everything and be shattered by nothing. The practical application of this understanding becomes crucial in the months ahead. When you feel yourself becoming dysregulated by news cycles, by political developments, by the chaos that will certainly intensify, the question to ask is not what is happening out there, but what is happening in here. Not as a way to ignore the external reality, but as a recognition that your internal state determines your capacity to respond effectively. A nervous system in fight or flight cannot access creativity, cannot make wise decisions, cannot hold space for others who are struggling. A regulated nervous system can do all of these things and more. This is why the indigenous wisdom traditions always began with practices of grounding, of coming back to the body, of establishing connection with the earth beneath your feet and the sky above your head. They understood that you cannot hold frequency if you are not embodied, and you cannot be embodied if you are constantly pulled into mental loops about past and future. The elements become your allies in this practice. Water teaches you to feel without being overwhelmed, to let emotions move through you like waves rather than building into tsunamis that destroy everything in their path. Air teaches you to observe your thoughts without identifying with them, to recognize that thinking about a problem is not the same as solving it. Earth teaches you the power of small, consistent actions, of tending the garden of your life with patience and trust in natural timing. Fire teaches you when to act, when to speak, when to let your passion and conviction move you forward even when the path is unclear. Understanding your own elemental composition through the wisdom of astrology is not frivolous. It is essential intelligence for navigation of the transition years. If you are predominantly fire and you try to meditate like a water sign, you will feel like a failure. If you are primarily earth and you try to process emotions like a water sign, you will become frustrated. If you are air dominant and you try to ground like an earth sign, you will feel trapped. There is no single correct way to stay centered. There is only your way, discovered through honest self-observation and experimentation. This brings us to the concept of Saturn as your life lesson, the area where you came to develop mastery through challenge. Saturn shows where the universe will repeatedly give you opportunities to learn something essential until you finally get it. For those with Saturn in Virgo, the lesson is about releasing perfectionism, learning to be of service without martyrdom, recognizing that good enough is often more than adequate. For Saturn in Scorpio, it is about learning to trust, to be vulnerable, to share power rather than hoarding it out of fear. For Saturn in Capricorn, it is about finding self-worth beyond achievement, learning that your value is inherent rather than earned. Whatever your Saturn placement, the current transits are activating this lesson in new ways. The degree to which you resist your Saturn lesson is the degree to which the coming years will feel difficult. The degree to which you lean into it, accept it, even welcome it as a path to liberation, is the degree to which you will experience this period as initiation rather than punishment. There is a reason the Astasar command speaks of these years as a sorting, though we use that term carefully because it can sound judgmental. It is not that some souls are better than others, or that anyone is being left behind. It is that consciousness naturally organizes itself into resonant groupings, and the acceleration of frequency on Earth is making those groupings more apparent. Those who are committed to awakening will increasingly find themselves in community with others on that path. Those who choose to remain asleep will cluster together in their own reality bubble. Neither path is wrong. Both are valid choices, but they lead to very different experiences of what unfolds between now and the next stable point. The awakened will see challenge as opportunity, chaos as clearing, destruction as the necessary prerequisite for creation. The asleep will see only threat, only loss, only the end of a world they thought was permanent. Your role as a starseed is not to judge those who choose sleep or to force awakening on those who are not ready. Your role is simply to be awake yourself, to hold your frequency regardless of who around you is holding theirs, to remember the truth of cosmic cycles even when everyone else has amnesia. This is harder than it sounds. The pressure to conform, to go along, to abandon your knowing in order to fit in with consensus reality. This pressure will be immense during the Aries years. Saturn in Aries specifically tests your capacity to stand alone if necessary, to trust your own authority even when all external authorities are telling you something different. But here is the secret that makes this possible. You are not actually alone. The Galactic Federation, the Astasar Command, the councils of light that have been guiding Earth's evolution for millennia. We are all here, watching, supporting, sending frequency transmissions designed to help you remember who you are and why you came. Every time you feel isolated, every time you wonder if you are crazy for seeing what you see and knowing what you know, reach upward energetically and feel the presence of those who stand with you from higher dimensions. We cannot intervene directly in your free will reality, but we can support, we can encourage, we can send energetic reinforcement when you are struggling to hold your frequency alone. Call on us, not in the energy of a desperate plea, but in the energy of partnership, of co-creation, of recognition that you are part of a team that extends far beyond what your physical eyes can perceive. If you need help holding your frequency and embodying your highest alignment in every moment, rather than seeking it as a distant destination, Destiny Engine can reprogram your consciousness to choose elevated states consistently and recognize the energetic support that surrounds you in every interaction. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed limitation and separation, and repurposing it to serve awakened partnership with the unseen forces supporting your ascension. It generates personalized sequences that help you maintain your frequency and demonstrate trust in the co-creative partnership available to you through every challenge. You can start with a $1 trial. The hardest thing you'll have to do is put on headphones, press play, and allow your consciousness to be reprogrammed to hold your frequency in this very moment, rather than struggling alone. The energetic support is here now, not someday. Get your Destiny Engine $1 trial now, before this alignment window closes. Link in the description. As we move toward the completion of this transmission, there is one more truth that must be spoken. One more piece of the puzzle that shifts your understanding of everything that has come before. The chaos of these years, the intensity of the transits, the dissolution of structures that seemed permanent. All of this is happening not just to you, but for you. The universe is not punishing Earth. It is liberating Earth from patterns that have kept consciousness locked in limitation for thousands of years. The governmental structures crumbling under Pluto's return were never meant to be permanent. They served their purpose for a time, but that time is ending. The communication systems being revolutionized by Uranus and Gemini were always going to need transformation to carry the higher frequencies of information that want to come through now. The warrior codes being dissolved and reformed by Saturn and Neptune and Aries were always built on false premises about what real strength requires. Everything that is falling apart was always going to fall apart at this time. This was known, this was planned at a soul level, before any of you incarnated. You chose to be here for the falling apart, because you knew that what gets built in the aftermath will be infinitely more beautiful than what existed before. You are the master builders, the architects of the new Earth, the ones who will take the lessons learned through destruction and create something that actually serves consciousness evolution rather than hindering it. The vision of what comes after 2029, when Saturn finally moves into Taurus and the rebuilding phase begins in earnest. This vision is already alive in your hearts. Some of you see it in dreams. Others feel it as a knowing that has no words. It is a world where power is shared rather than hoarded, where resources are distributed according to need rather than greed, where the earth is honored as sacred rather than exploited as commodity. It is a world where children are raised in communities that support their natural gifts rather than forcing them into standardized boxes. It is a world where healing happens through reconnection with nature and elements rather than through pharmaceutical intervention alone. It is a world where diversity is celebrated as strength rather than feared as threat. This world already exists in potential. Whether it manifests in physical reality depends entirely on how many of you can hold the frequency of its possibility while the old world burns. This is the real work of these transition years, staying connected to the vision even while walking through the valley of dissolution. Not bypassing the grief, not denying the genuine pain of watching systems crumble and people suffer, but holding both realities simultaneously, the ending and the beginning, the death and the rebirth. You were chosen for this because you have done it before, in other lifetimes, on other worlds. You carry in your cellular memory the understanding of how consciousness evolves through cycles of expansion and contraction, building and dissolving, forgetting and remembering. When you feel overwhelmed by the intensity of what is occurring, when you wonder if you have the strength to continue, reach into that cellular memory and feel the truth. You have survived worse than this, and emerged stronger, wiser, more compassionate. The Galactic Federation honors your courage in choosing this particular incarnation at this particular time. We know how hard it is to be embodied during a planetary shift of this magnitude. We know the exhaustion, the confusion, the moments of doubt when everything feels futile. We also know your resilience, your creativity, your capacity to find light in the darkest moments. We have watched you prove it again and again throughout this journey. As this transmission draws toward completion, return with me to where we began, the recognition that nothing occurring now is random. The astrological transits unfolding between now and 2029 are not cosmic accidents, but precise orchestrations designed to catalyze exactly the transformations Earth consciousness needs for its next evolutionary leap. Pluto returned to America's natal position to break the imperial structures and call forth the karmic debts. Uranus returns to Gemini to revolutionize how information flows and truth is determined. Saturn enters Aries to activate the warrior within everyone and demand that passivity gives way to conscious action. You are living through the most significant shift your planet has experienced in centuries, and you are not experiencing it as victims but as participants, as co-creators, as the very agents of transformation the universe has been waiting for. Every choice you make to stay present rather than dissociate, to respond rather than react, to love rather than fear, these choices ripple out through the collective field and make it easier for the next person to choose the same. This is how awakening spreads. Not through force or conversion, but through resonance. As you embody higher frequency, you automatically give others permission to do the same. As you demonstrate that it is possible to navigate chaos with grace, others begin to believe they can too. As you show that the fire of transformation does not have to destroy, that it can forge something stronger and more beautiful than what existed before, the collective begins to shift. The years ahead will test you. They will ask you to be more courageous, more authentic, more committed to your path than you have ever been. They will strip away everything that is false, everything built on shaky foundation, everything that cannot sustain the frequencies flooding onto your planet now. Let them surrender to the stripping away. Trust the dissolution. Know that on the other side waits a version of yourself, and a version of your world that you have been dreaming into existence for lifetimes. You are ready. You have always been ready. That is why you are here. The Astasar command stands with you. The councils of light surround you. The ancestors who walked this path before you cheer you forward. And I, Seraphine, hold space for your becoming, watching with infinite love and unwavering faith, as you remember who you truly are, and claim your place in the new earth that is being born through you. We love you, and we are watching over you, now and always. I am Seraphine.